Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Easy shot and a save, and the puck erased now at center ice. Hustling after it is Tavares. Tavares driving the net and a goal. Scores! Johnny Toronto scores in overtime, and the Leafs beat the Florida Panthers 2-1.
And the first pitch to him, swung on, drilled to deep center field. Back goes Iole, all the way to the warning track to the wall. He leaps, he can't get it. It is a walk-off home run for Sean Murphy into the Braves bullpen.
Eco has never had a walk-off hit. He's waiting for the 1-2 on the way. Swinging a line drive, right center field. That's going to be a base hit. Madrigal scores. Cubs win the ball game.
Now Muncy with the bases loaded. Sends a fly ball to left center field. Way back there. Grand slam. Max Muncy's breakout game. And it comes in San Francisco yet again.
Leave it to Shane to throw in the World Baseball Classic clip one more time.
But I think it was because of the 5 one-run games.
Oh, is that why?
Just giving it the benefit of that. I mean, knowing how he probably scoured the sports and watched a ton of baseball, I'm thinking he's probably like, man, there were 5 one-run games yesterday.
I thought that was just the home run call for Max Muncy, in Japanese. Sounds exactly like it. I bet you were calling that game.
Yeah, I saw both Max Muncy home runs last night. Well,
I bet that felt
laying
good
in the dark. Well, when you come in hitting 125, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a fan,
but it was
good to see.
Well, anytime you beat the El Gigantes, it's a good day.
Oh, now we're speaking in Spanish.
Yeah, es muy bueno. But
just very culture friendly today on the show.
Sí, yo no say español. He went French on me. No, but it was for a team that lost 3 against the D-backs, they actually hit the ball pretty well, right? I mean, they were scoring 6 runs a game, and just the Diamondbacks are good.
Credit to you coming into the season. You said, they're young, but they'll probably be okay.
They're good. That's a good team. That's why I took their Rookie of the Year. I
still can't buy into them
yet. I'm telling you, it's a good baseball team.
They have good front end pitching.
Yep.
A decent bullpen. A lot of young hitters, guys that have a lot of grit. Get on base.
Gallen Pitt threw a shutout yesterday.
Yeah, Zach Gallen's a stud.
Yeah.
Who gave him up? Oh yeah, that was the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Oh. Interesting. What are the Cardinals like right
so
now?
Here's the thing about St. Louis. We barely even exchange pleasantries outside
good morning.
But good morning. Guten Morgen. That's German. Why do you guys start so stinking slow? You might as well just spot teams a couple, 2 or 3 runs and play from behind. That's
what we do.
I don't understand. Was it the Braves that scored 3 consecutive games in the first inning or 2? For sure, 2.
For sure, 2.
And I'm just like, and you guys gave up runs early yesterday to the Rockies. I
don't really have words to describe
Yeah.
how bad the starting pitching is out of the gate. But I can tell you this, DB.
Yeah.
We all saw it coming.
We all saw it.
I can't really understand why the front office hasn't done more to improve it. Like, yes, they went out and got Jordan Montgomery last year. Okay, good piece. You gave up Bader. Bader wasn't really fitting into this outfield. He produces better in New York anyway. Jordan Montgomery is a consistent pitcher. Okay, good. But is Jordan Montgomery somebody?
He said, "Okay, good."
Is he somebody you wake up in the morning and you think,
Man,
"Hey, he's starting today. The Cardinals are getting a win."
Yeah.
What pitchers are like that? Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw, Sandy Alcantara. The list goes on. The Cardinals don't have one
Alcantara
guy.
felt like playing softball yesterday too, though.
Yeah,
What'd they end up with? 15?
Something close.
They
Yeah.
spanked the Marlins.
It
was 13.
15?
I don't know. It was 13-0 at one point. Just trying to make dinner. I was like, wow, this is out of hand. So that didn't.
15-3. Yeah, Bohm hit a bomb. Wow. An absolute bomb. Local kid.
It's early, right? But the NL West appears to be kind of messy. But go Diamondbacks. Anybody but the Fathers and the El Gigantes.
See, I feel that way in the Central.
About anybody but the Cubs?
Just the Cubs. If the Brewers move on, okay, whatever.
Yes.
But if it's
Yep, he said, "Yep, big Cubs fan."
Yep. And I was talking about Matt Verzal, not me.
No, he's he
did win.
He is a huge Cubs fan.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike J. Schaefer's Guardians off to a good start. Look, come from behind. They spotted the Pinstripers 2 runs yesterday.
Yeah, Gleyber Torres made a nice play on Jose Ramirez, but yeah, the Guardians are a good team. That's a team where if I'm a fan, don't think about starting pitching all too much.
No.
Like, you get to the back end of the rotation, you get a little dicey, but again, Shane Bieber, somebody you wake up, wow, we're going to win today.
You want a frontline starter bad, don't you?
It has to be done.
Yeah.
And they wanted Flaherty to be that.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Shane.
They wanted Michaelis to be that.
Mr. Inconsistent.
And they just don't have one.
No.
They don't even have a guy coming up in the ranks right now that can be that.
How do you feel? Are you going to be all right?
I feel good about Jordan Walker as my Rookie of the Year pick.
Hey, so yeah, that's
very hurt right
you
now.
you do.
10-game hit streak.
So it's early and we don't really, read too much into it. But are the Angels going to get enough people out?
Mm-mm.
I'm just curious.
Mm-mm.
I didn't buy them, but it's so early, and I think they're 500. I did take.
I think I made them my last wild card pick.
Yeah, I did take the Walker Texas Rangers as my wild card,
and they look pretty good.
They're okay.
Good offense.
Yeah, you just hope over time that the Astros don't start being the Astros,
and they will.
Yeah.
They will.
So, especially when they get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's unfortunate. Maybe they'll get bored
with being good.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
162 games is a long time to be good every year. Maybe they'll just be like,
Yeah,
you know what?
I don't think anybody ever gets bored of winning.
No, it happens. Sometimes it sneaks up on you. What happened to us? Yeah, we got our teeth kicked in. Yeah, it did not feel good. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, is it inevitable? Death, taxes, and the Astros winning the AL West?
See you later.
Outside of the Astros, every year it's, who's going to compete with them? Who's going to do it?
My Seattle Mariners are off to a very shaky start.
Yeah, that was a team that I had high hopes for too.
It's early.
But okay, so here, let's do this. If you had to name 5 teams, power rank your 5, whether it's based off of where they started in the season and where they've dropped to, or that have made their way into the top 5. If you put your top 5 teams in baseball, they would be what?
The
Rays have to be number
Rays
1.
are 1, right? Because they're 10-0.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And no, can I go no particular order?
Yeah, no particular order.
I will go Rays, Brewers, Yankees, Braves,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know in the 5th.
The Guardians.
Yeah, I'll take Cleveland. That's fine.
So I had the Yankees in mind.
They would be probably 5th.
But I dropped them out because I was looking at their schedule.
To slide who in?
I put the D-backs in.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't fight you over that. I just think I probably wouldn't arm wrestle you over that. I mean, it's
if you ask me what team,
6 and 1, 1.5 dozen in the other. But they ran into the Guardians yesterday, and I mean, they lost a 3-2 game, and that's the difference in one game. This early, that's the difference in one game in the win-loss column.
You asked me Yankees, Diamondbacks, 7-game series. Who's going the distance?
Yankees.
I pick the Yankees. But as of right now, if I'm just power ranking teams, I'll buy into the hype of the Diamondbacks. Now, the teams that have dropped off are 2 we already named, the Cardinals and the Mariners. But are there any other teams that you were like, that's going to be a good team, and they just haven't through 10 games?
It's baseball, and it's so early, but I'm with you. I don't think the Cardinals will be good, right? Like, I don't – it sounds pretty dumb to say, like, 2.5 weeks in. But I just don't know.
Well, they won't win 90 games.
I just don't think their starting pitching is going to be good enough. Like
and
that,
if they do get to the playoffs,
like I can't really in good faith say, oh man, if Wainwright gets it going. I'm not going to say that, right? Now Flaherty might, but he's still not enough, and I don't really see that either.
He just doesn't go deep into games.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because I don't like him, but I don't think the Angels are going to be very good. It's early, right?
They got Tyler Anderson, right? Or did he leave?
You're talking about no, I think
Tyler Anderson.
Yeah,
Taylor?
He's still there.
Not Taylor.
Kenny? No.
Zach who?
Kenny.
Ertz and Greinke. Ertz and Greinke, Shane. Yeah, I mean,
their offense looks okay right now.
No, they should be able to hit. I mean, weird. Rendon is hurt again. I'm shocked.
Well, he's too busy interacting with fans.
I'm shocked that Rendon is a day-to-dayer. I don't know. I mean, if I won't make any, I do worry. No, I'm not going to worry yet. It's just too early. But those are 2 teams. I'm like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, though, are that team too. And I'll admit
you just don't get anybody out.
And I'll admit this: are the team that everybody just throws away.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they win 17 games in a 20-game stretch.
They're like 80.
And you're like, oh, I knew it. I knew they were coming. That's your Cardinal fan for you. I knew it. I knew they were going to be there.
They're like 83-65, and you're like, why'd that happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But most people would say, like, see, I trusted this team. I wasn't one of them that wrote them off.
Hey, they got 14 games to play, and you're like, man, they'll mess around and get to 90. They just got to go 7-7, and they get to 90. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's what 83-65 would do.
Carry the 2.
83-65 is 142.
Mm-hmm.
No, 148. And you have 14 games left. 7-7. Yeah, that's pretty. Hey, Shane. No, let's not do that. We got a busy show today, man. It's going to be busy.
Yep, we are talking to Brandon Vogel first at 7:45. We'll get into the Sports Six-Pack at the 8 o'clock hour, so get your questions sent in. And we love your interaction, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitter. Shoot us a message, shoot us a question. We'll get that question answered on the show. Is that how it goes?
I don't know.
Oh, that's how it goes. You have to like
get the gurgle in my.
It's
It's kind of gross.
now hit it high.
No, I can't do it on demand.
Michael Lee, sports enterprise reporter for the Washington
He's
Post,
hilarious.
talking with us at 8:45. We'll do a little NBA talk with him. Joel Lorenzi coming your way at 9. You may have thought Creighton's season was over, but there's a lot of movement with Creighton's name attached to it. So we'll get his thoughts.
Stop laughing.
Why are you doing that? Hold on, Andrew. Why are you doing that?
Do you know what that was about?
Why am I doing that?
Not to stop laughing.
Oh, was it the him not waking up?
No. So why are you doing that? I'm not gonna let you do that. That was me talking about getting an easy win at DePaul. But the why are you laughing? The first part, because they're two separate interviews. The why are you laughing part is why he can't go to bed on time when the NBA is on.
Stop laughing. I've seen a lot of cases, yes.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
What does he get? Like 3 hours of sleep?
I don't know. I mean, we got a couple of guys like that. Jacob Padilla's like that. Jacob's got to be.
I don't like a West Coast team,
bro. He's got to be a 3 to 9 guy, and you're still gonna get 6 hours, right?
Yeah. 6 hours isn't enough. Maybe for you. You don't sleep.
It's plenty. My ding dong.
You said you stayed up all last night to watch Sons of Anarchy
clips. I don't know what I clicked on, but it was just giving me the clips. So I got because I'm all of a sudden, this is just, you're like, I get it. Like the TV nerds are going to be like, dude, this season's, it's old. It's over. But I'm always late, right? Like I didn't watch The Watcher until like 6 months after it came out. I didn't watch The Witcher until like after it came. I'm just always late. I don't have time, right? Especially when you have kids in the household. And so a lot of times you watch stuff late or random early, 6 o'clock Sunday mornings. But the Sons of Anarchy, I'm a big Jax guy. The guy that played, it's actually Jackson. I mean, he was just so cold-blooded. And he was kind of a cool guy and had to take over basically the family business. And it was a little violent, but it's a great story. And it has some guys in there I like.
So did you watch any full-length episodes prior to seeing these clips
I saw about, so this is what I do, right? I'll go and I'll watch probably 20 minutes at a time. And I'll come back to it periodically throughout the day or a night. I finished watching one more little snippet from when he, spoiler alert, killed his mom this morning. It's like 5:55. And I'm like, why would he do that to Gina? But then I was like, can't be messing with alleged baby mamas. Like, it's a long story. But, I mean, she was tough, too. And he, like, she's like, I'd like to go out to the garden. She knew it was over. But anyway, like, I do those kinds of things. That doesn't happen to you? So do you want to know what Saturday night was after Adesanya knocked out?
Yeah, with it. We're talking to Kevin Iole too later on in the show.
So after Adesanya knocked out Padilla, I just watched boxing knockouts.
I've told you I've done that before.
It's just like, man, like he was out cold. And so then I was just kind of going down the little YouTube rabbit hole.
Yeah, Adesanya kind of baited him into that knockout.
Yeah. What did he say? He said he did. I think he used the word baited.
Got it back to the cage.
Yeah, kind of pulled an Ali rope-a-dope and just hammered him with 2 overhand rights. But I thought he was in trouble.
Well, yeah, because that knee came in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, because you take a knee to the stomach, you come down.
So do you know why I thought of you at whatever time that was, 12:30 on a Saturday morning?
Because I do a lot of flying knees.
No.
Oh.
Do you?
I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
Why'd you think of me? I may do that tonight.
So his opponent has a deal where he comes in the ring, he shakes his hand off, and he's
Rodney.
He's a hunter. He's a big game hunter. After he got slept by Adesanya, he pulled 3 bows out of the quiver, aimed them right at him.
Oh, gosh.
Pulled 3 bows out of the quiver, aimed them at him. Now, keep in mind, his eyes are closed.
Uh-huh.
Right? I mean, sleepy time.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, he ran around the ring and fell on the ground and acted like he got knocked out cold.
Mm-hmm. I've seen celebrations like that before.
Man, if that's Angel Reese, though, she's classless.
I didn't call her classless.
You know what I mean?
You're the wrong guy.
I'm just saying. My point that morning was, if it's equal opportunity, let's be equal, because we don't say one word. And I mean, that was King Cap. He ran around the ring like a fool, and it's dangerous. Like, he's barely awake. You don't even know if he's okay yet. Remember when Masvidal?
How they act, though, in those octagons, and it goes back to how you act on the court versus how you act in the octagon.
So are we still deducting points from backflips in wrestling? We're so childish. What are you smiling at over there, Raider fan? That's why your team got. That's why
a fish.
That's why your team got worse.
Big Cubs fan, right? Yep, they did win.
Why they get all the old Patriot rejects? The Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I think I have some audio from it here. Here
Oh,
it
do
is. Yeah, it's right here.
he's like, "This is for the bourbons and the Cadillac." What an idiot!
Oh gosh, you just played Collide.
He gets mad. You mad?
I mean, that dude could eat me.
What were you talking about that day?
Is that my brother?
Yes.
No, I said he could sit on me.
Who did?
That dude could eat me.
It was some big guy you were talking about.
Oh, I would hope so.
Hey, do you remember that one time where you like read my tweets and I couldn't remember if it was me?
Oh yeah, I said, did you tweet this or did I?
Yeah, that was a good game.
We should do that again.
So, because I'm trying to remember when he plays these clips what we were talking about, and if it's us, I'm not as good as if it's like one of our.
I think you went like 18 for 20.
I think it's a lot easier, like if it's Joel or somebody. But when it's us, we say, like, we just go so back and forth. Sometimes I can't remember. Yeah, somebody. Like, this is for the bourbons and the Cadillacs. I do know what I was talking about when I said that, because it was a make them say, and I go, there used to be this song called Make Them Say, and it was Master P, and then Master P has that song Bourbons and Cadillacs, which is weird. It's how my mind works, right. But it's always about music.
It always comes back to either music or film or some sort of video for you.
Yeah.
But no, I was talking to my mom, and she had brought up something that we talked about on the show. I'm like, don't remember.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times we just kind of go.
It goes.
If you give me the segment, like, hey, you were talking about this player, and that I can like come.
Sometimes it's frustrating because I want you to remember, and you give me that look right there, like.
Because I'm trying to get there.
You're like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I'm like, come on.
You asked me last week, what was the old head that I liked that, we were kind of questioning just a day prior. I looked at you and I'm like,
yeah, come on, man.
Miles. And you're like, Miles Farmer. I'm like, thank God I got that right.
Well, that one was easy.
Yeah, but still, I'm like trying to think back. We talk about so many different things, so many different people. I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to get in trouble for saying the wrong guy here?
Yeah. I'm trying to get my 8-pack for sure.
8-pack, for sure.
What did he say there?
He's trying to get his 8-pack.
Yeah, I'm on my 8-pack. Yeah.
8, the number. Get his 8 back. A single digit.
How he knows how to explain it?
Miles Farmer's a guy that wore single digits his whole career in Nebraska, right. And he wants see, that's one of those guys. Remember a long time, about 3 weeks ago, I said, the whole single digit thing is cool. until you're the one that doesn't get your number.
Uh-huh.
Miles Farmer's a guy that'd be mad. I'm just telling you, like, I'm not going to say.
I think Newsome would be too.
I'm not saying he's going into the tank and he's going to pout, but he's going to be pissed.
He's not going to be Petey.
He wants it. Newsome doesn't have to worry about it.
He's
Not
getting it
really.
for sure.
And not if his team knows what's good for him. Newsome will be the guy that'll go around the locker room and say, listen, I held up my end of the deal. You remember when it comes time to vote. Don't be selfish now. I got a long memory. You watched. Newsome doesn't have to worry about it. He'll be all right.
Hey, gonna take a poll?
Hey, they got a busy day today. Now, they've been off 5 days.
Yeah.
It will be miserable today. It will be miserable today. They better be sharp because I think they're going to probably get it in.
Been there, done that, though. Been sluggish after a holiday weekend or a break off.
Should have had some of my lamb chops.
I would be still sleeping right now.
Bro, I ate 6 of them.
Oh, my goodness.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
More CNC next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show, 888-638-4876. If you'd like to get involved, it's Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. 590 ESPN Omaha. We are live on Twitter. We are live on YouTube. And we are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club.
A little bummed all the TVs are on the same channel, though, Ruru.
See, I don't know how to change the individual
No,
channels.
you were good at it the first couple of days.
But
You did say it was kind of a shot in the dark, right?
Yeah, I was just hitting buttons. I probably messed something up.
Ruru buttons.
Yeah. I probably was like my 2-year-old niece on the iPad. Just
Because, like, you were doing them all, and now it's like Shane can't even watch PBS.
Shane, would you like me to get the iPad during the break? Curious George may be on.
Get up! Get out of here!
No, it's
yes?
okay.
I would say, yeah. If you want to get up and do it.
Let me ask you something, since we were talking about Nebraska getting back on the saddle this morning at practice. Would you be the guy that would stick around to stay in as good a shape as you could, or would you take those 5 days and like check out?
I wouldn't check out. I would go home, celebrate with my family, but it would have to be contingent on me sticking to a plan while I'm at home.
So, Mom, Dad, hey, only so much ham, only so much lamb, beans, potatoes, tomatoes.
The good news is when you go home for Easter, if your parents come up like mine did, you can control your portions.
But so here's the thing. Didn't you guys only really splurge on breakfast? Like you had the 2 big breakfasts, right? Saturday and Sunday?
We did.
So you didn't mess around with dinner?
So we went out for dinner.
Oh, yeah?
One day.
Was it a chain?
One day got some za. It was not a chain.
What is za?
Pizza.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's
some za.
That's a you guys thing.
That's ridiculous.
Okay.
We went to a bar and grill out over in Papillion.
Don't want to tell me what it is. It's fine. They don't advertise.
It's something that I like to wear often. You make fun of me.
No. So I understand. I want to go to the old one because I get gas at that Phillips 66 right there.
Yep.
And there's an old one. It looks like some raggedy saloon that I kind of just want to go in. It's the original.
Okay.
Then they built the nice one off of 370.
Yes.
Too many people go there, though. I'm not trying to go and be like, hey, how are things? How are the kids? Everything's good? Great. I'd like to eat my meal.
Are you guys going?
Nobody was there when we were there.
Bro, that's rare. That place stays packed.
Here's the thing, though.
But it's big. It's
early.
Huge in size, too.
We went early because we wanted to have an early dinner, then go get ice cream as a family before we went to church.
You guys are so 8 is enough.
Nobody can do that.
That's cute.
Well, I had to pay because I lost our family March Madness bracket.
Oh, and they made you pony up.
So I paid $50 over at the ice cream place down the strip mall here.
Oh, so you didn't go to the good spot in Papio right down the street from your little hangout?
No.
Greeley's?
Grayleys. The last time we went to Grayleys, this is my bone to pick with Grayleys. I liked the interior. It was very like old-fashioned, like diner look, and I loved the uniforms that the kids were wearing.
Zoe had her first or second birthday party there, believe it or not.
That's kind of cool.
Bro, we drove clear across town for a 2-year-old.
That's cool.
That's back when I lived off of State Street.
That is a long way. It's not where you live now.
It's like, what are we doing?
But we went for root beer floats, Ashley and I, one day. I can't remember if we went and got drinks, but we went over there.
You are very...
Dude, I'm an ice cream nut.
Is traditional the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know what word you're looking for. You're just trying to get there safely. If you don't love it, leave it.
Hey, let's go have a nice dinner and then go get some ice cream.
Yeah.
Ice cream!
You're like, that doesn't sound like something I did growing up. So we went to Graylee's, and they put 1 scoop of vanilla ice cream in a big cup of root beer float, like something like this size.
Oh, okay, Micah.
Scoop. And I'm like,
hey,
1 scoop of ice cream.
This dude.
Ultimate fail, Shane.
This dude is all about ratio when it comes to his root beer floats.
Thank you, Micah.
Oh, my goodness. It's
2
like.
peas in a pod.
It's crazy. But I get it, right? I'm like that with ice, right? You know.
Yeah. I mean,
he said, yeah.
So I finished the 1 scoop, and there's like 3/4 root beer left.
And you're
I'm
not,
like, I didn't really want the soda. I just kind of wanted that to be a
they
part of the
were
ice cream.
so nice, and they had a ton of flavors.
Hey, I'm not knocking the establishment. I'm not knocking the workers. I'm just knocking the portion size.
Yeah. That's why you should go to Ted and Wally's.
See, another thing with Ted and Wally's. That's too adventurous for me. Like when you walk in there and see
you overwhelmed.
Well, the ice cream flavors are like gummy worms in chocolate ice cream with butterscotch nuts. I'm like, where are these combinations coming from?
Why would you eat butterscotch nuts though?
Well, why are they in the ice cream? That's what I'm saying.
Did you freak out over? You're an idiot, Shane.
That would be me when I walk in there. I mean, seeing all that ice cream.
Dude, you'd go in there.
You wouldn't be able to see over the counter.
Shane would go in there with his hands in his pockets and be like, I'd like vanilla with some chocolate sprinkles, please. And they're like, Shane, or, whatever your name is, little kid. But why do you, he walks in there looking like a little kid, but he smells like cigarettes. So they'd be totally confused. They'd be like, wait, how old are you? Are you grown?
But now, he smells like vape now.
Yeah, why do you smell like strawberry waffles? Shane, don't you play it safe with ice cream, though? Or you're a butter brickle guy or Neapolitan?
Put a little frosting on the cake.
This dude.
So last time I was in Ted and Wally's, and has this ever happened to you where you work at a place? So you work at Hurrdat, and somebody finds, whether you're wearing it on your shirt, like you have Hurrdat Sports hoodie on, just say, and somebody comes in and goes, hey, I just applied for a job at Hurrdat. And they want you to instantly say like, oh yeah, I'll put a good word in for you. And I just say, nice. And they just kind of hang around.
Wow, man, you're kind of that.
Around.
You're kind of that dude. At least I'm nice to people.
Well, so I'm like, nice, that's sweet. Like if I know you, like I'll put it. I'm not going to stick in my neck out for somebody I don't know. Yeah. Well, this Amazon driver over the summer.
Oh, those are my guys and gals, man.
And same. I have even a basket on my front porch for like snacks. I
got one guy. I mess with him because I want to know how he drives with that thing not tilting over. I mean, he pushes it. And I remember one time
trying to hit their time.
He hopped out, and it seemed like we get a package every other day, and I was like, it was the strangest thing. I had a package, and it was for a couple of houses down, and a couple of houses down had a package that was for me, right? Got this stuff from First Form, whatever. And so I walked over to the neighbors, and they were eating, so I didn't want to knock on the door. I don't know if you'd have done this. You could get away with it a lot easier than I could in our neighborhood. But so I took their package and dropped it off. I set it by the door, and I just did the polite little tap. And I happened to look, and I was like, I wonder if they have mine. Just so happens they did. So I didn't tell them that I was taking the package. I just dropped it off, but then they came out, and they have 2 little cute kids. Their little boy's a stud. And they're like, hey, just grabbing some dinner. And I was like, hey, just dropping off a package. And I go, what are the odds? And they're like, yeah, we were going to run it down to you. And I was just like, whew. Like, because it may not have looked right?
Looks like you're stealing a package.
Even though I'm dropping one off.
Right.
Kind of like when you were walking with the little kids at the park and you had your head up.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Hey,
that's a grown-ass man, right?
I don't want your little kiddo. She's just following me. Yeah. So anyway, I'm all in on Amazon drivers.
Well,
you couldn't hook those guys up?
Well, so he goes, hey, I applied for, this was over the summer. Hey, I applied for a job over at Hurrdat. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't even Hurrdat. It was UNO. This was when I was working at UNO.
Oh, I see.
He's like, hey, I applied for this assistant video director job.
Uh-huh.
And that's the job that I just got.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the heart to tell him that, hey,
I don't have
I just got that job. Like, don't hold out for that job. I'm like, oh, nice.
It's the last thing
like, oh, you work at UNO? If you could do something for me. And I'm like sitting back eating my ice cream with gummy worms and chocolate and butterscotch nuts or whatever was in there.
21. Can you do something for
and
me?
I was with my mom at the time, and I'm
21.
like, how do I go about?
What is it? Can I just? You're buried in the lead.
Dang, man, shock the world, baby.
What is it with butterscotch nuts? Is there even such a thing?
I don't think so.
Why do you keep saying that?
Because their ice cream flavors are such weird combinations.
21. Can you do something for me?
Just give me either old-fashioned vanilla.
Do you like Drake?
Chocolate.
Do you like Drake?
Drake?
Pull up Rich Flex over the break.
Okay.
It's a song. He talked about 21.
I see you just sent me Alex Pereira's son going night-night.
Yeah. Karma. She's tough.
Love it. Oh, Brandon Vogel coming back after the break. Stick around. It's Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Again, we are, and we really strive to be, we are a caring, not coddling environment. I say that to the guys all the time. Caring, not coddling. We are where top producers go to be with other top producers. We want to be with the best of the best. And so if we have a bunch of coaches who are sensitive and coaching staffs who argue with each other, then that's what the players are going to do. So the best thing we can do is just model what it means to be a Lion out there.
Chills, baby. I got chills throughout my body. Hey, what would Taylor Martinez say after kind of hearing that little rally speech there, Shane? What do you think? No? I just was wondering what Taylor Martinez
I like how I could hear him
thinking,
but his mic wasn't on.
Did you hear that though?
Yep.
I got chills too.
Yeah.
Shane, do you know what it's like to think like a lion? Yeah, that Lions would love to play on away games.
Lions would want to play any game.
Listen.
Because they know they're going to win.
Shane, they're where what? Wow, listen, I'm telling you, I have my Get Right playlist like in the shower. I may just use Matt Rule clips.
It's kind of weird. What, in the shower?
Oh, okay, Judgy McJudge.
Kind of weird.
Would you talk about me? Like we couldn't hang out. We could go to
scrubbing his body, and all you hear is just Matt Rule.
Man.
We're a caring, not coddling environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Extra dab of Irish Spring. Really? You can't vibe?
Not with somebody talking to me like that in the shower. I mean, maybe if you would have been like, yeah, I'm cooking dinner and Matt Rule's talking to me, I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. You're talking about one guy talking to you while you're in the shower.
Don't you have like tone setting music?
Music's fine.
But it's music to my ears. Cut your guy some slack.
Yeah, this is dry audio. Yeah, can you imagine? You'd be like, oh, Matt, no, get out. Get out.
So we just not talking to Brandon Vogel, or what are we doing?
No, Brandon, let's welcome him in now because he just kind of stands by while we get childish here in the morning on a Tuesday.
We're cutting into his quality time. That's why we had to bring him back last week.
Brandon Vogel, managing editor for Hail Varsity at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. Vogues, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. Well, Brandon, I would like a little, assurance.
Backup.
Yeah. Would you shower to a motivational speech?
No, not to a motivational speech, to a dry audio of Matt Rule. That's what we're talking about.
But it's multiple clips.
Yeah, we can put them all together, however you want to paint the picture. But this dry Matt Rule audio.
I think dry Matt Rule audio might be better than dry Taylor Martinez audio. Which, Damon knows those by heart so much that I assume that's what's been happening for the last 12 years. It's just I spat when he gets out of the shower. So
I'm a press conference guy. B. Vogues, cut me some slack.
It's good. It's good. I mean, I do listen to podcasts pretty often. Like I'll throw that on the speaker when I'm in the shower. So I guess I'm not big into the rise and grind lifestyle, but if I were,
I feel like I'm being attacked here.
Speaking.
Oh, that's funny because he's on your team, huh? That's funny.
I still would be laughing if he was on your team because I'd make fun of him.
So, what do you think if your coach Rule, and we'll hear about it after, so you can, we're just speculating here. What does today's practice look like after 5 days knowing this staff's temperament for you? They ease into it and understand that you got to keep guys healthy, or you think they get after it right away and sort some things out?
Yeah, I have a feeling this one might test the caring that they're going for a little bit, and I feel like Rule even teased it, a little on last Thursday, when they got ready to break. He's basically like, this was as easy as it's going to get. It's only going to get harder from here. So I think they'll ramp up to a pretty strong close going into the spring game in a couple of weeks, and that'll probably be a storyline coming from today.
Vogues, I asked this question to Sam yesterday, and I want to ask you too, because it was a question that was asked to me over the weekend about how one of my friends, big Nebraska football fan, says, by the time the spring game rolls around, I want to see a clear-cut quarterback. And I'm like, I don't know if that's like the biggest thing to check off the list right now, but I want to throw that into a category of a few things, and I want you to choose one. What are you hoping we see more come the spring game? That clear-cut starting QB, an unexpected breakout performance by a player on either side of the ball, a good sense of what the play calling will look like offensively, or the highly talked about 3-3-5 working?
Yeah, two top picks there for me. I think first of all would be like I would like to get a sense for the offense a little bit. So I guess play calling. To the degree that you can learn that from a spring game, like I'm just interested to see like what they come out in, sort of, and get a sense, at least a taste of something that might be coming in the fall. And then a 1B for me, I think, would be, we've heard about some new names, some guys that either have been on campus for a while and didn't kind of make their impression felt. Janier Bonner is somebody I'm real interested in, just with where they have him playing and what they've said about him. So I think that would be number 2 for me. Like we're not gonna come out of this. We'll come out of the spring game with impressions on the QBs, all of them, but I don't think we're gonna have an idea of which way Nebraska's going with that.
Hey, so B-Vokes, help me out here. Who has the best chance to be better than a spring story? Bonner, Bullocks, or Borkacher? Killer bees.
Maybe Bullocks. I think with what they're looking for on that side, he possesses a skill set that might match up with the best, in my mind, with kind of the new mentality there. So that would be where I go. I'm super intrigued by Bonner. I mean, he was a player who was plenty enticing to me coming out of high school with his skill set. And, with where they're trying to put him in this kind of a little bit of do everything tight end role, I'm intrigued, but that one still seems like less of a sure bet than Bullocks would be.
Vogel, and we're talking to Brandon Vogel, managing editor for Hail Varsity. This offseason, we've talked about a lot about which position groups would garner the most attention. Majority of the results landed in the trenches, but I'm going to give you a couple of position groups here pooled into 2 categories. And I want you to tell me if our focus has changed at all as outsiders looking in. So for a while, it's been the line, offensive line and defensive line. But I want to put that matched up against wide receivers and linebackers. Is our attention still on the O-line, D-line, or are we turning our attention now to wide receiver and linebackers? What do you think drives most of the conversations at this moment?
Yeah, good question. And I think leading into the spring game, it might be shifting more towards the wide receiver linebacker group. There's a pretty set, in my mind, feeling on the O-line. People who watched that last year were like, that was not good. This coaching staff has maintained like, hey, we think it can be good. Just wait. You're not going to learn that in the next 2 weeks. That's something that's going to have to wait until fall. The D line if they are majority 3-3-5 or however they end up lining up. D line's going to be a little bit, I think, tough to assess. Like, I don't see a guy there right now who's going to, at the end of September already have 2.5 sacks, and you're going to be like, whoa, look at this. So wide receivers a little bit easier to assess. and it's still a question mark for me with Nebraska. Linebacker gets interesting. You talk about some of those new names who have come in and kind of dropped down a level in some cases in the defense itself. But you also have two players who played a ton and made a ton of tackles for Nebraska in Henrich and Reimer. And, I don't know. I kind of get the sense as we've gone deeper into spring ball of like, well, what is the perfect fit to get both of those guys? They're really good football players. But are they, does this defense require a different skill set at times? And what does that mean in terms of a rotation?
When you're taking a look at kind of what you want to come out of the spring, is it lean closer to an identity on offense or a way that they want to play on defense?
I mean, I might lean towards looking at the spring game defensively. I think what I might look for most is kind of the mentality. And, I think the coaches have been pretty clear about, hey, we're like trying to set levels here in this spring session. And I think one you can set right now is just kind of the mentality that they hope to play with and the speed I think they hope to play with. And you could worry about kind of the detail work a little bit in the summer. Offensively, I think I might be looking for maybe something a little bit more traditional of like, okay, we've talked about tight ends a lot. Like, here's how often they were in, multiple tight end personnel. Here's, how quick that offense ran, in the sessions of this spring game where they're like really going and treating it like a football game. So it might be more nuts and bolts for me offensively, might be a more thematically defense. At least is how I plan to go into that Saturday.
Vogel, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much, and we will talk again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, B.
That's Brandon Vogel, managing editor for Hail Varsity. And we will hear from Coach Rule, Garrett McGuire, and a few other players after practice today around 10 o'clock. So if you are paying attention to the clock at that point, maybe take a break from work, to turn over to, is it just Nebraska Cornhuskers YouTube page?
Or Huskers, Huskers.com.
Or Huskers.com.
Yeah.
Hail Varsity YouTube page, and you can find the interviews all there. So curious to hear how practice does go, as you alluded to, DB. But coming up next, Sports Six Pack here on CNC.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, welcome back to the show. If you have an issue with your car, go to Dingman's Collision Center. They are presenting sponsor of our game 2 for You that we play on Wednesdays, which is not today. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you today was Wednesday, but who wants to fast forward their life, fast forward their week, live in the moment? And if you, had something wrong that happened with your car, you better go take that to Dingman's right away. They've been in the business for over 25 years in Omaha, family-owned and family-run local business. They work on all makes and models, from Fords to Teslas, 4 locations throughout the metro, voted first place Best of Omaha for 18 years running. You only do that if you're good at your job. That's Dingman's Collision Center, dingmans.com.
Dang.
Why'd you laugh?
Because you said
live in the moment?
Yeah, who doesn't want to fast forward through their life or the week? Just live in the moment. Sometimes I'd like to fast forward in the week, though.
Yeah, I think that, but, if you really look back on it, you're like, I wish I would have just taken that time at the zoo and really looked at that animal I couldn't see instead of just walking around the
Are
path.
you still mad about that? You do have a little berry in you.
No. Well, Ashley said that yesterday.
That you got a little berry in
She
you?
goes, you are your mom to a T, but sometimes a berry comes out.
Yeah. So my mom is probably my heart, but my dad is certainly my backbone. Like,
I could venture to say the same thing.
Totally. Like, when it's nut cutting time, it's probably gonna be my dad.
When it's what cutting time?
We're not on the wait. I thought we were on the butterscotch thing.
Oh yeah.
Are we?
Oh yeah, that thing.
Are we not in the?
Are butterscotch nuts a thing?
What happened to the tree of trust?
Leave dry fruits, butterscotch nuts. Are those really a thing?
No, they're morsels like you put in cookies, and they're not even like butterscotch. I don't even know how we got on this, but butterscotch is one of those things that if it's good, it can be fantastic, but bad butterscotch is awful. Just like when people try to pawn things off as caramel and it tastes like butterscotch. So I used to go to this place called Goodrich. Me and my buddy Chad Morford. We'd walk over to Goodrich. We'd get butterscotch malts or shakes, whatever one has the powder.
I mean, it was gold. It was
no
absolute
nuts.
Gold.
Yeah, that's my shower guy coach rule. But if it's bad butterscotch, like ice cream topping, you know, the ones that like harden, like crackle or whatever it is, like the shell, like some of those are like really bad. Just like caramel. Caramel can be really bad. So you have to be careful. Not all butterscotch morsels. Let's go with morsels.
Like, nah,
I'm a big morsel guy.
Yeah. You know, a bite, a nugget, if you will. Yeah, not all butterscotch is created equal.
Now, did you ever used to get like the grandpa candies, the butterscotch,
Discs?
and the yellow wrapper? Excuse me.
There used to be this older gentleman. His name was Freddie. I never knew Freddie's last name. Freddie would sit in the same pew as us at church.
Oh, and he'd pass them out?
And Freddie had 2 candies. Always.
Can I guess the second one?
Go ahead.
The strawberry.
No question. That is unbelievable. You're not even that old. That is little dab. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, those are the two infamous elderly candies, I would say.
the strawberries. So there's a place called I think it's I won't say their name because I'm not endorsing them yet, but you can get popcorn there and they have candies. And it's old school candies. One of their candies are the strawberries with the little chew in the middle.
Those were so good.
They're way
let
good.
them melt in your mouth.
No,
You're a chewer right away.
As a kid, so it was very hard for me to be patient.
See, that was me with Jolly Ranchers, and
my
then
mom,
I realized those are even worse.
I don't like Jolly. I don't really even like hard candy, but my mom would say, "Stop it, Damon! Stop crumbling the wrapper. Give it here. Give it here."
Are we back in church?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we're back.
We were back in the candy store, and she was whispering.
Yeah, and then there was this family that sat in front of us. It was an older lady and her two daughters, and all they ever had was candy. And I'm like, "How you guys just come to church and eat candy?" Like, I would look at my mom with those kind of like, "Well, why can't we do it?" They're just passing candy back and forth to one another. But
I want to go to church where you went church.
St. John AME. It is the oldest church in the city of Omaha.
And is it Christian?
It is African Methodist Episcopalian. St. John AME.
That is a mouthful. Episcopalian?
Yeah, Episcopalian, yeah.
Episcopalian or Palian?
Yeah, you know, like Joe Pesci. Forget it. It's old Saturday Night Live. I have no idea what's going on this morning, but we're gonna be all right.
Let's do the sports six pack, Shane.
I'm done.
You already had the six pack. That's the problem.
Time now for the sports six pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
Take a moment and tell you about Zipline before we get started. Their brewery tap room located immediately adjacent to their brewing facilities.
That means next to.
That is nice work.
Help people out.
Thanks. You can't get fresher beer than that poured at the original tap room location. They cater to those seeking the complete beer experience from grain to glass. Try something special from their cellar. Meet the people behind the beer. And check out Zipline Brewing. Shane, kick us off.
Question number one.
Will the fan base be forgiving if Nebraska doesn't go 500 in football? I heard DB ask this question yesterday, and I would be very upset if they didn't live up to that expectation.
That was a three-part question to Sam.
I don't know. Our man Adam was like, remember he told us on DM, Husker X's nose.
Yep.
Said he would be extremely disappointed
at a 500 record.
Well, so was it 500 or 5 wins?
5 wins, yes, because it would have been a 5-7 record.
He said that would be disappointing.
So
that would be disappointing, but would 500?
6-6, you make a bowl game?
It was a 3-part question. I said, would they be more forgiving to strike out on Raiola, to go 500 in the season,
500
or to
recruits,
500 on
kids.
in-state recruits?
So this question, if I read it correctly, Shane, if they don't go 500, it will be disappointing. So that would be the 5, not the 6.
Will the fan base be forgiving if Nebraska doesn't go 500?
Doesn't go 500.
I
think they'd be forgiving.
I kind of do too. Because, so can we just go back to the narrative since we kind of partly control it? The narrative was he's not, it takes a year. He's going to tear the whole thing down. That was the whole, I'm not making that up. Like, that's what everybody said, right?
You tore it down.
Oh, first year for Rule is not good, this, that, and the other. It's the second year where they make progress. So I think, unless that changes, and we know expectations can be pretty fluid, I think they'll be forgiving.
Yeah, and by year 2, if you don't go 500, then I think there's a right to be worried. But I don't see that happening. Now,
I don't even know if I'd go with worried. Maybe.
What word would you use?
Maybe.
Because if in year one,
it's an 8-year contract, though.
It is, but in recent years, what we've seen in college football,
it doesn't
a new
take.
coach
It doesn't take
needs
that
to
long.
do it by year 2.
Yeah,
and it's sped up. It used to be by year 4, then it went to 3. Now it's 2.
For a multitude of reasons, if Nebraska goes 500, that would be very good for me. Very good for me.
6-6.
Hey.
People will be happy.
Yeah.
People will be ecstatic,
including recruits,
because they'll see that this program is back on the right track.
Yes. Please, sweet baby Jesus.
So will they be forgiving if they don't go 500? I would say
yes,
in year
they will.
one.
I say yes,
in
they
year
will.
1.
Does it matter if they win at home or away?
Doesn't matter.
Is this
Doesn't matter.
you?
6 wins.
I don't know. I'm just drinking
5
over
wins
here.
to be forgiving.
Question number 2.
If they win 2 games, before you get to this question, though, if they only win like 2 games, then I can see the fan base not being very forgiving.
Yeah. And we'd be in big trouble in our house.
I'd be in big trouble on the air.
Win. Just win.
Question number 2. Take it or leave it. Now that the Ravens have signed OBJ, Lamar will start week 1 in Baltimore in a Baltimore uniform next season.
They were at the club together.
And didn't they FaceTime each other?
We were at the club.
On what day was it? Oh, today's Tuesday.
Going up.
Is it going up?
Going up.
I would take it.
Really?
I just don't see Lamar being all bought into this OBJ moment if he's not going to be the starter in Baltimore.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Deductive Reasoning. Context clues. All right. I'll take it.
I didn't really do that much convincing.
I'll take it.
I just took the 3 things I saw on social media regarding Lamar and OBJ.
There's going to have to be a lot of I'm sorries.
By the Ravens or by Lamar or both?
Ravens. Lamar's the one talking, so he must feel like he's in the right.
Question number 3.
Stanley Cup champion, Big 5, Bruins, Toronto, Hurricanes, Avalanche, Tampa Bay are the field. What's your bet?
Wow, would I have made those the Big 5?
That was actually the Big 5 that was sent to me over the weekend via FanDuel or DraftKings. Bruins, Maple Leafs, Hurricanes, Avalanche, Lightning, or the field.
Gosh, that's pretty good.
Well, we can take out the Maple Leafs. Call them maybe the Big 4. Hurricanes.
Tampa's had some issues the last couple weeks.
Yeah, but they're winners.
They are
when they
winners.
get to the playoffs, they win.
Gosh, that's pretty good.
Avalanche are on the come.
You had to go to OT against the Ducks.
It happens.
I can handle that response.
Isn't it funny?
It happens.
The Avs have 104 points, and we're wondering what's wrong with them.
It's because they won the Stanley Cup last year with like 140.
You know what I mean? The Big 4 or the field. So the Stars aren't in there, right?
Correct.
And neither's Minnesota.
Neither is New Jersey. Neither is New York.
Give me those teams one more time again, Liquid.
Bruins, Maple Leafs, Hurricanes, Avalanche, Tampa Bay.
So we're basically talking about the Avs, Bruins.
And Tampa. I don't think the Hurricanes do it. Although they've been really good on both.
You know what?
Home and road this year.
Just to keep my rear end safe, I think I'm going to take the field.
Oh, so you're going to take the majority of teams.
Yeah.
Versus
I'll take everybody else but the top 4. Is that nuts?
Dude,
it's hockey, man. Something weird is going to happen.
What's the other team that should be in there?
And remember, 3 of those teams are in one conference, so they're automatically eliminated.
Right.
Because they have to play each other. But will they be one of the last teams standing? I'll take the field reluctantly.
I'll take the Big 5. I
4.
don't think anybody's getting past Boston.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Boston can score, and they can absolutely defend.
Remember when they fired Cassie at the end of last year, and they had 2 of the big 3 on IR and weren't going to start the season on time? Yeah, that was great.
And now they've only lost 12 games.
Yeah, now we're comparing Pasta's goals to the number of team wins.
Question number 4.
What team could benefit the most from trading up with the Cardinals to select a need at the 3rd overall pick?
So you know who's interesting if they trade back? Both Houston and Atlanta. Because Houston could still come back and get a quarterback at 12, maybe.
Do you risk that?
Depends on how much they like him.
But even if you don't like whoever it is.
So trading up.
You know, I'm almost questioning why the Cardinals would even trade. Why wouldn't you just take a pass rusher like Will Anderson? Why wouldn't you just do that? That defense could so badly benefit from that.
Trading up.
But if you are trading, I don't see why Houston would trade back. Even if you don't love the guy, you don't want to take everybody else's sloppy fourths.
Okay. You know what? Because they have room, I'm going to say the Houston Texans. They got 2 picks. They have 2 and 12. They can move a little. And if they don't covet a quarterback, I'm going to say the Texans. They may do something with that 12th pick, especially if a QB slides.
Yeah, I guess it all just depends on draft day, how it goes, the trend it's going, which I'll be there for. I'll be there on.
Yeah, you're going to be our correspondent.
Yep, on Thursday.
Keep an eye on the Tennessee Titans, though.
So if you know what's funny about that?
If you're looking for a team that could move up, I may take a flyer on the Titans.
Yeah, I was going to say there are 2 teams that I like. One being the Titans to move up, the other being the Falcons.
Falcons got some capital too.
So watch out for those 2 teams. Trading back, though, I didn't even think about that when the question first started.
So I'm
it's
all
an
over
interesting piece. I don't see Houston going away, especially if the draft goes the way mock drafts are saying it's going right now, with CJ Stroud going 1.
Got a couple wild cards, though.
I'll take my chance at Bryce Young at 2.
All right, so let's go with the Texans.
And I'll say the Falcons. I'll just play it safe with the 8.
I do like the dark horse being the Titans, though.
Question number 5.
Would you rather take a pitch from Hurrdat Chapman or a punch from Mike Tyson to the ribs? Did I say his name right?
Mm-hmm. You got it right.
0 question. 0 question. Give me Hurrdat Chapman. Hurrdat Chapman could hit me, and it's not going to hurt near as bad as if Mike Tyson punched me. Mike Tyson could break something.
What is the speed?
And Chapman could break my jaw, but I'm going to be in the turtle position anyway.
What is the speed of a punch from close range opposed to like 103 mile per hour fastball?
PSI is like impact.
Yeah.
From Tyson, probably greater than a fastball. I'm not a physics guy, but I'll take the thing from 6 inches being more destructive than something from 60 feet, 6 inches when it's human manufactured.
So, good point. When you go paintballing, you take a paintball to either the thigh or the back, it bruises up, right? It hurts in the moment, but you get over it because it came from a distance. It probably slowed down a little bit in speed as it got there to you. Meanwhile, the punch, if I'm up this close to you and I can punch like Tyson right into your gut, I'd probably throw up.
Yeah, he could shut your kidney down. He could ruin your liver. He could break a rib.
I would take a roll to Chapman.
I'd take Chapman. I don't have to give that much thought.
Especially because I could turn around. If I knew it was coming, I would do this. I'd just be like, hit me right here. Just hit me right here. I'm good with it.
Right
well, you take a body blow from Mike Tyson, he could break something.
You would think that the body blow would be intentional, So where the hit, like if you're taking the pitch, might not be intentional, so it might not be as fast.
Well, I'm assuming both are intentional. Like, hey, if I'm Aroldis Chapman and
he wanted to make a point,
he was ticked off at you because you crashed his brand new Mercedes, and he's like, "Here's how
now
I'm getting
that's
back
tough.
at you."
That's tough.
Just having been hit in the gym a ton, something you have to really worry about until you learn how to get hit. You have to worry about making a mess, like using the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dead serious.
Question number 6.
At what age do you age out of a Easter egg hunt?
Oh boy.
See if you laugh at this. My family.
Oh, here we go.
When they were in town,
eight is enough.
We did an Easter egg hunt for the 2-year-old, which was fun. It was great walking around the yard. But then we do adult Easter egg hunts. So like gift cards, some eggs have like candy and scratchers tickets in them, like lottery scratch off tickets.
Do people get paid on those?
Yeah, I made $15 on some $2 ones.
I had to stop the
Not
music.
too shabby.
You want to hear this too?
Yeah,
I'm all in too.
I'm all in.
When you said paid, I'm assuming you mean like thousands of dollars.
No, like it's $15 to have not put in any money is fine.
Yeah.
Like
so we had gift cards, we had scratch off tickets, and we had like Bath and Body Work like items. Like my mom like wrote like, hey, pick an item. So you could pick like a wallflower or a candle or whatever. And I was all for it. Those are so much fun.
Dude, I'd take a candle. Yeah, I guess you'd probably age out.
You age out of the candy hunt. But if you do an adult Easter egg hunt, like maybe you put shooters in an egg, like I don't know, we don't do that. But I'm all for the gift cards, the scratch off.
I bet your dad would probably do shooters. I can't see your mom doing shooters.
No, actually, he wouldn't be the guy.
It would be the opposite.
I think it would be my mom that would put a shooter for my dad.
Well, she was dancing in here.
Jesus, a free spirit.
Well, that's cool though. You need one if you got a tidy righty in your house.
Who, Joe?
Wasn't righty was not the word I was going to use either, but just playing it safe. If you said wacky blackie, I'd choke you.
It's a gunner!
A tiny righty. What? So then I can say a wacky tacky?
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, back on. He started it this morning, so I'm just playing along.
We're just playing. What did I start? The Matt Rule?
Oh my eyes! Where's question 6?
That was it.
Was
that was 6?
Yeah, I'm not.
Would you do an adult Easter egg hunt?
Not really.
Like if your mom put one together?
For my mom, I would.
But what if you got like gift cards and not to say that you absolutely.
So what do you put them in?
Eggs.
Do they make giant eggs?
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm.
So like bigger than regular eggs?
They make. There was one egg that was like a dinosaur egg in the backyard.
Well, where are you hiding that?
There's a hollow tree, and like we just stuck it right into the tree. But
I would probably do an adult Easter egg
they're
hunt,
fun, man.
I don't know if I would be like, oh, hey, but I would do it as a good sport. What?
It sounded like a dolphin.
I watched a video of 4 bull sharks tearing apart a dolphin yesterday.
Man, you psycho.
I don't know. I follow a couple of animal accounts on Twitter. These bull sharks just
ripping apart a dolphin.
Like
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Ashley can't even watch crocodiles taking down zebras.
Well, I retweeted the one of the gazelle getting away, or the antelope.
Yes, you did. I saw that.
Did you think he was going to get caught, or she?
I did until like the croc just wasn't making any headway.
He tried to make a move,
right?
But once he got the
got
land,
too shallow.
It's a wrap.
It got too shallow. Croc or alligator missed his mark.
Yeah, righty tighty,
righty tighty, and wacky tacky here on Coffee and Cream.
Ooh,
good thing we do the sports 6-pack in the big block. We didn't have to rush today.
Some of those questions are a little difficult.
Thank you to Zipline for being a proud sponsor of the show. When we come back, we'll get into more with Coach Rule and also Husker baseball. That's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show. 888-638-4876 if you'd like to get involved at any time. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. He's Damon Benning. I'm Andrew Rogers. We are having some fun on a Tuesday, and I promise, I truly promise that we will. What was that?
Why you make him sound like?
Yep, today we are. Are we a caring, not coddling environment?
No, we care.
Yeah. We don't coddle, though.
If you're doing adult Easter egg hunts, then you are
a little. We coddle a little. At least I do.
I try not to.
Well, I think you're a little more.
Hit me with it. Just say it.
I don't know the word, but I think you're a little less concerned about how words make people feel than I am.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean?
I bite my tongue a lot.
But kind of not.
But sometimes if I get going, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, my favorite is like when you're speaking to somebody through me. You know, like maybe social media or what the sentiment is on a sports topic, and like you just kind of go all in. I actually think it's kind of funny because those are those times where you have zero restraint and you're really good without restraint. Like if you just let it rip, like it's fantastic.
Sometimes I wish I could more. But
you just should. It's not. What are we going to do? Get fired?
Well, I'm not worried about that all too much. I'm just more worried about the perception that I'll leave.
Who cares?
Let it rip. Let it rip.
Well, sometimes it's just like that, though.
What if I was just like, well, in that case, blah blah.
Because I could like sometimes it's just like you're like, we'll go to break it, and you're like losing your mind. I was like, well, you should have said it.
Well, sometimes we just run out of time. A lot of times that's what happens. If
Bill?
we didn't have hard outs, we'd be okay.
R.I.P. Exactly. R.I.P. to this partnership, Bill. Wait.
LOL, JK.
What happened? And he lost his mind. Somebody gave me the green light to just say whatever.
I don't know who though.
Shane's told me for years you can say anything once.
Yep, that is true. That is very true. I will add this to what you said, and I agree with you when sometimes I just kind of just say it and not really think about how somebody's going to interpret it. But I also don't like to be responsible for people's feelings.
No, tell them that. See, that's me. Tell them, hey, listen, I don't want to be responsible for your feelings. Just get it out the way. Just
precurse it. With
yes. That's too much pressure. It's too much pressure. I can barely manage me. I don't want to be responsible for your feelings. Now, it's a little more difficult if you're in a relationship, but hey,
that is true.
Devil's in the details.
Hey, tonight
that's why we care and we don't coddle.
100%.
Grow the heck up.
Top producers go where, Shane?
We were top producers. So, full disclosure, if I looked at Wisconsin's practice, and I won't say the other school because he didn't tweet it out. So if I look at like Wisconsin versus Nebraska, it's even. I would make that game and pick them.
I don't think that makes people happy out there to hear that.
What?
To make it a pick 'em?
Yeah.
You having it be 50-50? Oh, do you think
Wisconsin's beat Nebraska's butt 6-7 years in a row? Now last year was close, and they had goose egg Wisconsin at the half.
Never mind. I'm with you now.
Right.
I was thinking you were talking recruiting here.
No. Oh fudge! No. I don't even get into that. I don't even get into that.
We're talking game.
Should he tweet some more stuff out? These people kill me. Knowing good and half these guys, it's funny. Like knowing good and well, if they said yes, they're not taking you. Stop doing that. Like, nobody's going for that. Stop. Just stop. I mean, it's cool because the recruiting guys that don't know crap from Shinola, like, they'll chime in and, hey, let's get some interviews. But, like, they don't know. They rely on what people tell them.
Right.
They don't see anything. Right. It's like, anyway, I would make it a pick 'em.
And is that because you're looking at 2 new coaching staffs, 2 new teams?
So they're very, very similar in their approach to practice. Very similar. So, and it's refreshing because there's nothing worse than going someplace or watching something. I would say the same thing about Manhattan, although Nebraska's probably in a better coaching position. And this wasn't last week. This was a couple of weeks ago at K-State. But I would make that would be a similar game as well. I'd probably make that one 1 or 2 points because I think Nebraska's in a better position across the board on offense. But defensively, it's very similar. K-State secondary is fantastic.
Now, you look at when Nebraska and Wisconsin played, November 18th, second to last game of the regular season. Obviously, it all depends on how the season's going for both teams. But even, let's just say, they have even-ish records coming into that game.
Okay.
You still think it'd be a pick 'em at that point in the season?
The game's in Madison.
It is. We'll learn a lot.
Right now, going in November, I would probably make Wisconsin a slight fave because they're at home.
And that's fair.
I'd make them like a 3-point fave at home.
And I think that's 100% fair when you look at both of these teams.
I like a lot, man.
There's more surety at quarterback, I think, in Wisconsin.
I want to talk about the other school last week, but I like what Nebraska's doing because I think it's on par with what other teams that want to be like them are doing. The tempo, the physicality, the taking guys to the ground. I'll worry about the talent later, right? Because a lot of guys aren't on campus and things are going to change and people hit the transfer portal. But like the way practice looks, I'm not like, oh, poop, we're behind. Not at all. Very similar in energy and effort.
And I think that would make a lot of Nebraska fans happy to hear that because you see.
I'm just being I'd rather be right than well.
Right. And I saw some rankings come out this morning about the top coaches in college football, and Luke Fickell was like 8th on that list. New program. It's kind of hard to. You take his resume for what it is, and I can understand why he would be a top 10 coach in college football.
Very intense, and he's very involved. It's crazy. They're a lot alike.
Well, you said intense and involved, and there's no in between when you talk him and Rule.
They are a lot alike, and I told you, shout out, like hats off to a guy like Coach Rule, for being so candid about how he feels about Fickell as a person or as a coach, right? Because I mean, it just happened to come up in the conversation, and he's asking Caleb about some potential visits. How you going to spend the offseason, spring break, whatever, and somehow Wisconsin came up and said, Fick, and he just, and I was just taken aback that another coach would speak so highly of another coach, and you're in a competitive business, but he doesn't. That's just his level of security. Like, I think at the end of the day, he'll take him. Like, oh, that's cool. I can say good things, but if I had, he'd be like, DB, Lob, if I had to pick, bet on me. Like,
I'll take it.
Because people that are secure in themselves, they aren't afraid to say somebody else is good at what they do.
If you're one of the greatest, you have no issue.
They're very, very, very
complimenting somebody else. You have no issue. But if you knew you had some of those insecurities and you were trying to maybe do a little blackmail so that you could say like, oh, this is why you should do me versus blah, blah, blah. You may not even go check out that coach.
Yeah, and you got to know your surroundings too, right? Because you don't want to be those people. And some schools do it, right? That negative, they like talk bad about other people to elevate what they do. You got to know your audience, right? Because that doesn't play for everybody. When you're talking to secure people, be secure.
He's confident,
right?
No question there.
Right.
Coming back, we will talk to Michael Lee. Little NBA playoffs. We'll follow that up with Joel Lorenzi. Then we will talk about tonight's baseball game here in town. Omaha, Nebraska. They meet again. And we'll end the show with Kevin Iole. All that coming your way.
Can Omaha
next.
just do it again?
Let's see.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
I just ain't interested in that, being honest. And this is not a secret. I want a chance to go for it. If the route is to do that, then, you know, that's not my route.
Unfortunate situation for them, obviously, but, you know, it's our job to go out there and no matter who's on the floor, go out there and get a victory.
Buck Dizzle, A Dizzle.
Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis. We will talk about another Davis later on in the show when we talk some boxing coming up next weekend. But before we
you went Tank.
Yeah, before we do anything, not Tank Dell, Tank Davis. Before we do anything, let's bring in Michael Lee.
One of the best.
Michael, you have some big expectations right now because the DB's been talking you up, and I really hope you live up to expectations. And I'll tell you by the interview's end, but I'm sure you will because DB hasn't failed me yet. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, man. It is good to hear from you. How you been?
I've been good.
Good.
Michael, is Minnesota going to get smashed tonight?
Hey, let's cut through the chase.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, they obviously are in a bit of a turmoil. Losing your not Vanderbilt, but McDaniels, but then also Rudy Gobert not being there. But the last time Rudy Gobert played, Anthony Davis gave him 38.
Yes, he did.
So I don't know if he helped. And seeing the way they rallied after Rudy got, kicked off, got sent home, that was encouraging to me. So I think it's going to be a more competitive game than everybody thinks. And I don't want to sound like a hater, but I feel like everybody is acting like we didn't watch a full season of basketball and realize that the Lakers were not a great team at any point.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they're in the playoffs, everyone says they're going to win a championship. And I'm like, because we know the guys, two of their players' names, I'm going to wait and see. I think Minnesota's got a chance if Anthony Edwards plays up to his level. I think the one thing about the NBA and about professional sports that everybody seems to overlook and forget is that young people, young players, young stars usually emerge in the playoffs. And we can act like we're surprised because we haven't seen it before, but it's only because they're young. It's not because they aren't any good. So I don't know. I think the Lakers will probably win tonight. But from there, I think that everybody's spent too much time overlooking the teams that earn their spots as the top seeds in the West.
From a business standpoint, everything Mark Cuban has touched seems to turn to gold. Why can't he get a roster right?
Well, he got a championship in 2011. He got that roster right.
And that the funny thing about that one, Mr. Lee, is nobody really liked that team on paper to make the run that they did.
Yeah, but again, a lot of times people don't look at what was happening throughout the course of the year. The Mavericks were really good all year that year. They were really good. And it was just that they were just really overlooked. Nobody was taking them seriously. But they were the best team, I think, until Caron Butler got hurt in the middle of that year. And they just kept going after he got hurt. And Sean Marion fell to his role. And so I just think sometimes, like even at that year, we were like, oh, Kobe, the Lakers, they're going to repeat or three-peat or whatever. And we just got so caught up in the name of Kobe because we were used to it. But the Mavericks smoked them because they were the better team all year. And I think sometimes we get so obsessed with names, we forget. But to get back to your point about the Mavericks, it's hard to build around guys like Luka because he's your best playmaker and he's your best scorer. And when you're in a situation where somebody's your best player and your best scorer, sometimes you become over-reliant on them to do both. But their mentality, first and foremost, is as a scorer. And so you can try to get the right pieces, all the pieces you want, but they're all going to take a back seat to that guy because he's so dominant. You saw it with James Harden in Houston. Obviously LeBron was able to have success because he's one of the all-time greats. He's one of the best to ever play. but Luka's not there, and he's still trying to figure out how to get there. It took LeBron 7 years before he even reached the finals, and Luka's just in year 5. So I just think that the expectations probably exceed where Luka is as a player, but also the Mavericks struggle is that it's hard to find complementary pieces because eventually, inevitably, all those pieces are going to take a back seat to that one guy who's not good enough yet.
Okay, so that's interesting, right? Because we're kind of waiting and we're patient, but we know, at least statistically, since ISO and isolation plays, and we know the stats, what the Mavericks do in terms of leading the league in terms of isolation, that those things don't work in the postseason. So are we waiting on an adjustment to the game or an adjustment to the chess pieces?
You know, they had 2 really good players on their roster. They had Jalen Brunson and Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis couldn't stay healthy in Dallas, so things just didn't work out. I think we realized how good Jalen Brunson was and how much he was a stabilizer. But the real issue with the Mavericks and why they fell apart this year is not because Kyrie and Luka aren't talented. It's because they're not leaders. It's because they're not guys that can inspire the entire group. And I always say this about every team. When I look at teams to try to figure out who's going to win and who's going to, really go far, you have to have a spirit on your roster, like a positive spirit, somebody who's elevating everybody in the room. Now, Theo Pinson is that guy, but he doesn't play. He's a great guy to have in your locker room, but he doesn't play. You got to have somebody on the floor.
It was a fantastic quadruple double, though.
But look, yeah, that's true.
I'm a Carolina guy, so I'm Team Theo.
Look at the Warriors and look what they've done over the last 8 years. Why have they won so many championships? Steph is great, but also Steph brings a great spirit to the game. Why is Milwaukee the favorite to win a championship this year? Because Giannis is great, but he brings a great spirit to the game. If the energy level and the spirit of your leaders is high, and you can really elevate guys from just a positive attitude perspective, you're going to go a lot further. And that's in anything. That's in any walk of life. That's in any business. But especially when it comes to basketball, where you got only 5 guys on the floor, if you don't have guys that are elevating the spirit on the floor, you're going to struggle. You're not going to look good. And that's where the Mavericks are. So I don't know who they're going to find in terms of talent, but Kyrie Irving is a guy who he brings you down because his spirit is negative. It's a negative spirit. He's not going to elevate the roster. You've seen it everywhere he's been. It's because his presence isn't going to be that positive spirit that you need. So whatever they find, whatever they do in terms of building their roster this offseason, if they don't get a leader or somebody in there who can elevate the spirit of the locker room, they're going to continue to struggle because Luka's not that guy. And it's not a knock on him because not everybody can bring that like that. But I just tell you, if you're trying to find a successful team, if you're trying to build a roster that's going to go far, you got to think about that. You got to think about that when you build that team.
We're talking to Michael Lee, sports enterprise reporter for the Washington Post, at Mr. Michael Lee on Twitter. Michael, you mentioned the Golden State Warriors. At what point do we need to reconcile them for their road record and just remember that they're a team that shows up in the playoffs?
I don't know if they're going to show up in the playoffs. If they get Andrew Wiggins, then I think all bets are off. I think they got a shot to go far. But, you are what your record says you are. And if you struggle to win on the road in the regular season, there's no switch. You can't flip a switch. You can say that, they're a playoff team. They've been here before, they're experienced, but they've also missed the playoffs during this run too. So what they've shown us is that they're really good at home. And maybe that'll be enough. They got to get one win at Sacramento, which isn't that far from home. So maybe they can do that and pull that off. But they've shown us that they're going to struggle, that it's going to be a tough ride. If they wind up winning this series, I don't think it'll be easy. They're going to really struggle to win, especially away from Golden State. But the 82 game schedule shows so much. It reveals so much. And that's why, like, when I'm watching all the pundits talking about what's going to happen in the playoffs, I'm like, you can't dismiss what we just saw. This season, the season is meant to be long. It's meant to be grueling. It's meant to be something that wears you down. It's also meant to expose who you are. And over the course of the year, we've seen who the Warriors are. There's no switch that they can all of a sudden hit. Now, adding Andrew Wiggins, if he's healthy and playing, then that changed the dynamic for that whole team. But other than that, they are who we think they are.
Okay, perfect segue. So short window, KD undefeated with the Suns, 8-0 or 9-0, whatever it is. But we've seen the longevity and the consistency of Jokic in Denver. Why do we like Phoenix more in the playoffs than we like Denver, in your opinion?
Because we know the names. You know, it's a tradition like no other. You know, whenever you know the names, that's who you rely on. That's who you lean on. In 2021, everyone thought the Lakers were going to repeat. But who beat them? The Phoenix Suns beat them, and they went on. But why did they beat them? Because Devin Booker was elevating, because DeAndre Ayton was elevating, because he was rising, because Chris Paul was right in the right spot at that point to lead them. And so we were so used to LeBron and AD. We just dismissed the Suns altogether, and then they went out there and did the thing. You know, and I think that, you know, when it comes to Denver, people don't remember they were in the conference finals because it was in the bubble. You know, they see Jokic and they don't see any other all-star players on the roster. So it's like, well, they're not really that good. They can't be that good. But their record tells us they're that good. Their record, they've been there. They've been good all year. And so I hate to say this because it sounds silly, but I wouldn't be surprised if the top three teams or the top, you know, advance in the postseason. It shouldn't be a shock to anybody if they do. But the way we promote the game in the names of the game, we sort of buy into the fact that if we haven't heard of you, then you're not any good. But now I think it comes to a point where at some point you got to recognize who these people are. And the playoffs is a chance for them to really show us who they are.
It's the reason we call you Mister.
Michael, you lived up to expectation, man. We appreciate it. And we will have you back during the NBA playoff run, no doubt.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for having me back.
Appreciate it.
Michael Lee, Sports Enterprises reporter for the Washington Post. Joel Lorenzi up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, welcome back. 9 a.m. on the computer. Yes, I say computer, not the watch, not the clock, but on the computer, because that's the time I look at every single day. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. What that means is we are now on KFOR in Lincoln. You can catch us there now. You can catch us live on Twitter or YouTube or even 590 ESPN here in Omaha, alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. We just finished up talking NBA with Michael Lee, and we will continue some conversation in that with our next guest, Joel Lorenzi. But there's a lot of Creighton stuff to get to as well. A lot to unpack. Fancy Joel Lorenzi with us now. Joel, good morning.
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
Oh, there's the soft-spoken one. You know what? One of the reasons I also think we vibe, Joel, is because for the 10 or 12 or 8, that's actually like 16 years I've been doing this, I've been known as a quiet talker, but man, nobody has you beat. Like, your delivery is so silky. It's like, crank him up.
We always turn up.
When is Joel Lorenzi like turn, as the kids would say?
Good question.
It's rare. It's rare.
I'm just too cool for school.
People rarely get me in my element, man. I've like gotten too mature now. I was a hyper kid though.
Yeah. Well, you had to, right? You were defending yourself in Chicago.
Something like that. No, I wouldn't say too many people picked on me though.
But hey, listen, man, it's Team Light Skin. It happens.
Don't start that.
Shut him down.
You have some of the best drops we use on the show because you're just not afraid. It's like there's one that we play all the time that's like, "Hey, why are you laughing at me? Stop laughing."
Stop laughing.
Hey, listen.
Hey, using my catchphrase, Andrew. Why are you? Hey, using my catchphrases without my consent is crazy.
Yep. Take down Shane.
Listen. So, before we get to Creighton, because we gave you we wanted you in the big slot here. We just talked to Michael Lee, and obviously he's covering the NBA, and we're going back and forth, messing around, and he's a big regular season guy in terms of, like, you know, we've seen this before, like we know, but now all of a sudden, because we fall in love with names, we all of a sudden switch up in the playoffs. So I was like, oh, okay. So what, you know, is that the Suns and the Nuggets, right? The Suns 8-0 with KD, the Nuggets, great regular season. He's like, you know, it's about the star power, but I really like the Nuggets. I wouldn't be surprised if the top 3 seeds in the West advance. Let me ask you, with Shane's money, because he makes the most, would you bet on the Suns or the Nuggets to advance in the West?
I mean, I hear him on the star power thing, but like, I don't know. I got my concerns with both teams. Like, I don't know. I mean, Denver's been one of the better teams, obviously, all year. Their concerns for me are like, the versatility on defense, like and how many coverages they can deploy, especially if they were to end up, facing a team like Phoenix, where they put so much pressure on coverages with all the shot makers and stuff. I just don't know. Making Jokic defend, I think their best defenders like Aaron Gordon probably, he's pretty good, but I mean there's a drop off there outside of him. So I don't know. That's the only thing I'm worried about. And then Phoenix, obviously you look at their lineups and I think you wonder, and I've heard people make this point, like who the fifth guy is. Like you're not really confident. I mean, maybe it's Josh Okogie. I mean, they got options, but they're gonna have to have some consistency from their fifth guy. Otherwise, some of those lineups, there'll be spurts that could probably take them out of games. I don't know. If not take them out of games, have them lose games by one possession. So I honestly can't give you an answer there. Maybe I'd probably say the Nuggets. I don't know.
Joel, I want to go to a play-in game, and I want to talk OKC just for a short moment because this was a team that wasn't supposed to be good this year at all. Chet's not playing. You're looking at a team that just never had the support to get to where they are now, and yet here they are playing for a spot at playing deeper in the playoffs, and they get New Orleans, and New Orleans is a team that has beaten them I think 3 out of the 4 times this year. No Zion for this matchup. Can OKC, though, continue to surprise people, or is this the point where you cap it off?
No, of course they can. I remember when DB asked me about them a few months ago. I was like, man, we shouldn't even be talking about them. Only because I mean, in previous seasons, this was their trajectory, right? Like, they get a good lottery spot.
Yeah, you did brush them off. How about that? There's a lot of good young teams.
Yeah, but SGA elevated his game to where like this dude is like an all NBA guy. So they really carried, and Jalen Williams emerged as like a rookie of the year candidate, and they had things go right for them, and they took nights serious when other people were unserious, like the Houston Rockets. And so, I think they can survive. I mean, New Orleans. The thing with New Orleans that pisses me off is they lose games they shouldn't, and they're never healthy these days. I mean, Zion is out so much that people are starting to call him a bust, which pisses me off, man. Like, because he's clearly not a bust. I mean, when he played this year, they were one of the best teams in the league. I remember they sat at first in the conference at one point. Obviously, this thing is a week by week league. But they were really, really good when they had all the guys. And I think that was when Zion was playing and Brandon Ingram was out. And then when they got Brandon Ingram back, they had some good spurts. Like, we have not seen the Pelicans in full form in a long time, and it's upsetting. But and with their current version, and I think the basketball they played recently, I think for sure the Thunder could continue to surprise people.
As a guy that still carries a baseball bag on his back because I like the sport, I appreciate the softball that Drew Down just sent me with the OKC reference because that means Josh Giddey. You used a Josh Giddey comp in one of your good articles talking about who's on the open market for Creighton in terms of transfers. How important is the first domino being a point guard to fall for Creighton to attack the portal?
I would call it less important, and I would say it's more necessary because obviously that's the hit they didn't expect to have. Now I think it would be assuming, let's say Arthur Kaluma leaves. I think that's a harder position for them to go recruit right now because I just don't know the field and who's there. I know that the Tennessee guy I think is a valuable for, but what I understand he's probably leaning Arizona. They haven't recruited him. I don't know if they recruited any 4-man because Kaluma hasn't left. So assuming he leaves them. I just don't know what that feels like. So I don't know if who they recruit at the point guard necessarily affects the other positions. Because I mean, the molds they have, I think Taron Armstrong, if they were to land him, that's the only one that would affect, the other positions. Because I think then you probably got to get a shooter type, or at least somewhat of a shooter at the 4 spot. Because I mean, he's a non-shooter, man, and that's why, I called the Giddey comp lazy, because I mean they're both. Giddey shoots, I think, 32% from three. Like they're not good shooters. The big playmakers. I mean, he's probably like not only just the best passer in the portal, you could argue he's the best passer in the country. So there are similarities there. If you wanted to just throw the comp out, maybe it's not so lazy considering the college basketball field. I don't know. I think it would be lazy because they're Australian. But yeah, man, I don't think who they recruit there affects the other positions unless it's probably him.
Now, this is all an assumption, though, to Trey leaving then, because
you won't know until June.
Right, but if Trey stays, you could shift him over to the point guard, and then my follow-up question to what DB just asked is, do you then switch mindset and go shooting guard? Like, are you under the assumption Trey is staying? Maybe that's like better. I'll ask that question first. Are you under the assumption right now as Creighton that Trey is staying? I
do get the sense that they feel good about Trey staying. Like it's better than 50%, and that's the assumption I'm under as a result. And like I get people saying like, oh, well, if they don't get anybody, I think this is low key people coping with the idea that like they wouldn't get anybody, which is not. I think they're gonna get somebody, but like no, like Trey. Of course, Trey could play point guard. We saw it at the end of his freshman season. Like, of course he can. I just don't think you're getting the best out of him there. I think you're getting the best out of him next to another playmaker who could probably score and take some weight off of him. I think in lineups, there were lineups last year, mostly because he was out there with reserves, but there were lineups where he was the point guard, and there was a lot of weight on him to create and initiate, and it was like, damn, like this might be too much weight. Like you need another guy out there, I think. And going forward, like if he goes to the NBA, like that's what he'll have anyway. So no, I'm under the assumption that he'll stay. And like while people might want him to play point guard, they're better off with a point guard next to him who could help set him up so he doesn't have to do everything and initiate everything himself.
I know everybody loves you as a writer. I think we started that because we're like, we got to get this guy, and we're going to give credit where credit is due. You may be one of those rare guys that's as good a talker as he is a writer, which is hard to do because usually you're good at one or the other. Let me ask you this so I can continue to get these free-flowing thoughts. You're close to this team. You know a lot about a lot. Would the potential, I'm just going to ask it. Would the potential of Nembhard already leaving and Kaluma potentially being on the move enhance the odds of Trey Alexander coming back to Creighton?
That's one thing I haven't figured out. Like it's tricky, right? Like those are his boys. So you would think like that's it, right? Like he's gone. But I don't know, man. I think he's kind of licking his chops at that bigger role.
He shoots the technicals. He gets to guard the best player. He gets 12 shots a game already.
Sure, right. Yeah.
Like that's going to be enhanced.
Yeah, and it's not like either of those two really affected the player he became down the stretch. I mean, maybe Nembhard because they got to play off each other, but you put another point guard in there and it's basically the same. But I don't know. I mean, the sense is that, if it wasn't already like this at the end of last year, like he'll have the keys this next year. It'll be him and Shireman.
I think Kalkbrenner comes back, Joel.
I think so too.
We got to meet, man. So maybe there's lunch on the line. Like I think Kalkbrenner comes back too.
Yeah, I think the sense they get is among the draft guys. Like if they don't have a good enough summer to where they hear their name in the first round, they'll just come back to school. That's the sense I've gotten.
Now, is that strictly because of NIL and what they could end up making in college versus the league?
If you end up on a G League deal, like if you're not on a two-way, G League deals are worth like barely over $40K. If I'm making more than you, of course you should be coming back to school. Come on now.
So let me ask you this though: when you're looking at like where you think Creighton could have done something differently with Ryan Nembhard, it's nothing that had to do with what's going on in the basketball court. Is that a fair assumption?
I mean, maybe. I mean, some of these dudes, maybe they wanted I don't know, maybe a better relationship with Maddox or something. I don't know, man. But I think that's such a small fraction of it.
Yeah.
That it's probably not notable. I think a lot of it had to do with like what people say NIL. I mean, obviously that's the main culprit to point to, and you know, I'm not sure the decision was entirely Nembhard. I'm sure his family had a lot to do with it. So,
well, you something
don't get me
else.
wrong, like other factors, but I will say like people who are mad at him, like I can't be mad at him. Like in my shoes, like because I know personally, like man, there's always gonna be a better car, or a better house, or some better clothes, or a better partner. Like there's always a better something to somebody. So I can't say I don't understand him. Like I mean, I don't know if I if I got a call to cover, I don't know, the Lakers today, like you think I'm gonna be like, hell no? Like, come on now.
Hey,
follow. And not to say that Arizona is some big step up from Creighton, but I'm sure he saw something better over there. Like everybody's viewpoint is different. Like everybody ain't some other people want to bring up like morals, like loyalty and stuff like that. Like, dude, like you can't say what you would have did in his shoes until you're there, man.
All right, good point. Very good point. Hey, following the news of Nembhard, why do you give Ashworth, McCollum, and Armstrong your top three as stylistic fits in this system to play point guard at Creighton?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of not just fit, but realistic targets. I mean, a lot of people were throwing Max Azus out there, and don't get me wrong, there was interest there from what I heard, but it just ain't enough. I mean, that dude is one of the better players in the portal. So
yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
From what I understand, it was more of a long shot than the other names. But I think Ashworth, like people are like, oh, he's a perfect fit for Creighton. This dude is a perfect fit anywhere. I find it really hard to see a system where he's not. I mean, maybe like a Bulldog defensive team or something crazy.
Because he goes for 17 a night and shoots 40% from three, or like, where are we going wrong here, Joel?
This is one of the most efficient shooters in the country, and beyond that, he makes some of the best reads. Like I think, like he's just one of the most efficient guys with the ball in his hands. Period. I mean, in the pick and roll, he makes great reads. Off the dribble, catch and shoot. Like he ranks all like 90 and up percentile, and I mean just about every shooting category you can think of. This dude is, as soon as he crosses half court, like he's lethal on offense, man. And that was when he was a first option. I mean, you make this guy, assuming he makes the adjustment, you make this guy second, third option on a team where you got shooters like Trey Alexander and Baylor Scheinman taking away, some attention from him. I can't imagine the possibilities. That's for sure number one on their list, I think, and it should be. And then you look at Javion McCullum, a guy who made a big sophomore leap, was given the keys this past year and really delivered. Not as efficient a shooter as Ashworth, but hey, who is really? But on the volume, he shot pretty well. I think it was like close to 36%. He did his thing this past year. Got a good handle. Really puts pressure on the rim. But I think he's still a step down from Ashworth, but still gives you a guy that you can hand the offense over to if need be. And then Armstrong obviously is a real. not probably. He's the best playmaker on the list. He's the best facilitator, arguably, in the country. And that's gotten him, draft stock. The only reason I don't list him as the best fit for him is because he's a non-shooter. As good of a playmaker he is, I don't know. He doesn't get as many paint touches as you would want, not by himself. You want more rim pressure out of a guy who's 6'6". So there are some questions there to be raised, especially for a guy who shot not just this past year, but 30% from three for his career through 2 seasons. It would take a lot of work in the summer on his jumper to really make the questions about him forgettable, at least in this situation. I think anywhere he'll probably thrive at virtually any school, but if you want the perfect fit for Creighton, I'm not sure he's number one on the list.
So let me the last one from me. People wondered about expectations and where the program is, and it's obviously a top 20 program nationally. And I think Coach Mack has embraced that. I think the players understand that's just where Creighton is. When you look at the ability to make another run in a year, but not being worried about being complacent, how much could this be a blessing in disguise that there's been a little bit of a shakeup in the offseason where they got to recalibrate, still could bring back some good pieces, but you don't take anything for granted because of how this offseason has gone? Is this a blessing in disguise, maybe?
With all the moving around?
Yeah.
I don't know. It keeps them on their toes for sure. I'm sure they would have rather.
Would you? No, wait. That's interesting. Would you rather run it right back, or would you rather have a few key cogs, make some additions, and refocus?
I think I would have wanted to at least switch out one or two starters, because I think, and I've heard this, and I probably agree, that they probably reached a ceiling with a couple of those guys.
Yep.
I mean, with Nembhard, they go to Ashworth. Not saying Ashworth is better than him overall, because I think Nembhard is, one of the best point guards in the country and is the best point guard in the portal now. I think there are things Ashworth does better, obviously, as a shooter, to plug in better with the current roster and the current starters. It would just be a lot more beneficial to me next to Trey Alexander. Now, maybe Ashworth's rim pressure is there like Nembhard, because Nembhard was like a sneaky good athlete, but that's something they can figure out later. As a shooter, it's just hard to pass up on that if that's the guy. And then, the bench always had to. Farabello was their sixth man. I think they always had to take that pressure off him. So the way I think they're attacking the reserves, you were never going to be able to run it back perfectly with the same reserves and same starters. Yeah, maybe it is good for them, because I think you alter your ceiling a bit.
Interesting. Joel, thanks so much for taking some time this morning. We appreciate it, and we will talk again soon.
Thanks, Joel.
Talk soon.
Yes, sir.
That's Joel Lorenzi, Creighton beat for the Omaha World-Herald, at JX Lorenzi on Twitter. Interesting point. I guess my comment to the same last question that you asked, Joel, would be similar to his answer. So 2 years ago, what did they do? They made it to the Sweet 16, added a few pieces, kept kind of the same core, ran it back, got to the Elite Eight. Maybe would have liked to see them do similar things, but then he topped it off with, maybe you got the most out of these guys. Maybe they've hit their ceiling.
That's what I think. And I think this could be a classic case of addition by subtraction if you figure out what you want to do at the point guard spot. Because if you get Kalkbrenner and Shireman back and Trey Alexander comes back, Farabello already says he's coming back, you make one or two tweaks and all of a sudden you're refocused without being complacent by just having the same guys do it over again.
And sometimes change is necessary and good.
It's hard sometimes when you want a next level, but you think you've peaked.
Right.
That team may have peaked, so it may not be a bad thing.
Right, but after they made it to the Sweet 16, maybe that was a similar feeling. Oh, maybe we peak at Sweet 16.
But they took one step further.
They did. So now it's time to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Coming back, we will talk Husker Omaha baseball right here next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back to the show. Before we get into some baseball talk, I want to address those Husker fans out there because maybe you need some gear to wear to the games tonight. Well, when you want to be game ready, Alumni Hall is your ultimate Huskers shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family: Adidas, Champion, Columbia, plus gifts, accessories, and all your tailgating needs. UNL students, faculty, and military always receive 10% off in store, and you can earn cash back with Hall Pass rewards. Visit the 2 locations, Peachtree downtown or in the South Point Pavilions, or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Husker fans shop. If you need gear and you need something to wear to Haymarket tonight, go to Alumni Hall. It's a midweek game, DB. We talk midweek games a lot on this show for Nebraska. And let's just say it doesn't normally go well. Now, that being said, the Huskers are on fire. I believe they're 5-2 in their last 7.
I don't know about on fire.
But they have a midweek game under their belt.
Yeah.
It seems as if they found a Sunday starter for them, but now you have to find another midweek guy because that was Walsh. And you're leaning Clark again tonight. I thought for a slight second it may be Garza.
So it looks like it's going to be Bell and Garza. Or
Clark.
Bell and Caleb Clark.
And those two were the two that met previously at Tal earlier back in March. You find the same 2 guys. You're thinking maybe a little bit of consistency. I know this pitcher. Both lineups know each other pretty well. But Omaha thrives. Absolutely thrives in midweek games. They've struggled on the weekends, but they've already taken down Creighton once this year. They fell to 6th-ranked Arkansas, which was kind of understood. They've also beaten Nebraska, and they beat, was it K-State? It was K-State indeed, 7-6 earlier back in February. This is a team that can play during the week. If you're a player, because you once were, I was once a player, but not at the level you played at. But if you're a player in college right now, does that haunt you?
I don't think so. I think the thing is, it's kind of 2 teams moving in different directions. I think UNO's lost 6 of 11 since they beat Nebraska. Nebraska's trying to move to the good side. And, Clarkie, we talked about this. I call him Clarkie like he's my guy.
I'm going to get you something real nice, Clark.
Remember last week when I said, gosh, seeing him pitch out of that jam in those first 2 innings, right? 2nd and 3rd, and he had the bases loaded, and Christie and those guys stayed with him. I felt like, okay, maybe he can build on that. So we'll see. Bell's pretty clutch.
At least as of late.
Well, he's just kind of old, reliable.
Yep.
Like, I just think what you're going to get out of Bell. But here's the thing. Like, if you look at Nebraska's pitching statistics nationally, you're top 30 in whip. The ERA is top 40. Quietly, they're better than the Christie bashers have given them credit for. Like, they're kind of doing their thing. It's these games that you talked about midweek where and I've been saying this forever, and I'm going to blame Michael Alejandro Bruntz. It's really not Alejandro, but
it's not Jerome either.
No, that would be Sauter. 2 months ago.
Kind of a lazy parent take, right? It's like, because I said so.
So 2 months ago, right, we asked the question, hey, is this staff going to be deep enough to win midweek games? Because that's when they have to make their hay. And he just would not give in, right? He's like, we need to let's kind of be patient. Let's be patient. And it just hasn't been as dominant, I think, as Nebraska's capable of being. But so far, if you're keeping score on paper, and I hate, Shane, as you know this, I hate the transitive property. right? If Team X beat Team C, then Team C should beat Team.
Right.
I'm not that guy, but right now in state, Omaha has bragging rights. They have,
no question
they have the
about it.
best record of the three against the other two.
Nobody can argue that.
So I think Nebraska needs this because there's something to be said for momentum, right? And if you're going to win weekend series in Ann Arbor, and I get it, Michigan struggles at the top of their rotation outside of their hammer, who was, I mean, outside of O'Halloran, like you got to be able to do more if you're Michigan, but Nebraska did take 2 out of 3. You got to be able to establish some momentum. And if you're going to play midweek games, you can't let your RPI get buried by not getting these games. And Omaha has a losing record. I think they're.
This is where you take advantage.
Are they 11-14?
They are.
Okay. So they're 11-14. Like you've got to.
It's where you have to take advantage.
You've got to win this game. And it's at home and you get some momentum.
It's going to be a nice day, a large crowd.
And here's the thing. This is my baby. And I get super excited talking about it because I never understood this. This goes all the way back to like 2014 or something like that, 2015, talking to Brandon Riley. And I'm a huge Brandon Riley guy. And I'm like, you know one thing that really pisses me off because he was talking about how he was kind of sick and tired of hearing the older guys have opinions. I said, hey, I get it, right? New style of football. I respect you. Like, you don't have to listen to everything we say. But I just wish you guys would embrace rivalries and not be too cool. Like, Iowa hates your guts. You have to match their intensity. And he's like, man, DB, I hate Iowa. Like, I want to beat Iowa. I used to get into guys like, hey, man, they're coming for blood. Like, we need to match it. And I was like, I'm Brandon Riley guy. And I say all that to say, don't let it be more important to Omaha to win this game than it is to you because Omaha enjoys beating Creighton in Nebraska. Like, you can control that. And sports is so much easier. Not easy. Easier if you control the controllables. Match their energy. It's going to be important. And Bell's kind of that guy. Like, he's all shucksy, kind of nonchalant. Like, he'll roll in there, throw his 4 1/3.
He's got the third best ERA on the team.
He'll throw 4 1/3. You've only scored 2 runs, and all of a sudden, it's a 2-1 game, and all of a sudden, we got a ball game.
It was tough.
Can't be that team.
Nope.
You have to match their energy. And if I'm Clarkey, you got to be thinking, hey, man, I got a lifeline last time out. My coach believed in me. He let me pitch out of a jam, even though it was only 2 innings. But, hey, man, go get it.
And Nebraska's in a good place because even Bolt said after the series in Ann Arbor that they were very competitive and they made the pitches when they needed to make the pitches. They got the hits when they needed to get that key hit. He called it the best game that they've played all year. So they're coming in with a little bit of momentum. 8 relievers on Nebraska's bullpen combined to allow just 2 runs in the last 33 innings. That's a .55 ERA, 38 1/3 frames. You have an offense that's been backing up your pitching even when it doesn't go well. Bryce Matthews?
Who's the best hitter on the field tonight?
It's Mike Bovee. And then it's
so you got Bovee, Max, and Bryce.
And I'd go in that order. Bovee, Max, Bryce.
Kind of makes sense.
And
Bovee's been more consistent, done it longer, even though Max Anderson is a great hitter. Matthews has kind of evolved. So I get the slotting. But how about that in terms of tandems with what Nebraska's been able to do with Max and Bryce?
Yeah,
and they've moved some guys in the lineup too to kind of give them a chance.
Look, Omaha doesn't have some scrums either, right? They have Devin Hurdle, who's a .377 hitter. They have Cam Frederick.
Our guy Dylan Carey has cooled off since we jinxed him.
Yep. Hayden Hunt hits .306. Eddie Rosario has 5 big flies. So this is
catching is interesting though for Omaha because they have some options.
They do. They cycle them.
Are they going offense for defense, offense and defense?
Against Nebraska, I think they lean offense over anything else. They want to score runs. They want to get on Caleb. And let me say, one of my favorite quotes of all time from one of the best Christmas movies around. You serious, Clark?
I thought you were going Die Hard.
No, Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, and I will fight somebody to the death.
Hot take. I haven't seen it start to finish,
Hey,
so I
listen
can't
to
argue.
this. Only 40 qualifying batters in all of D1 baseball enter the week with an average of 400 or better. Bovee and Max Anderson are two. Both in-state infielders, both pro players.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Shut up, Shane. Don't do it. Don't go down that road. We'll see if Kevin Iole thinks so. Next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back as we wind this thing down on a Tuesday. I was hoping you were going to jump in right
Tuesday.
there.
No,
You're
I
a big
got you.
music guy?
I am.
I was hoping I had you there. You kind of looked at me funny, like, Andrew, where are you going with this?
Well,
That's majority of the show.
So it's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Majority of the show is DB questioning my my words, my judgments on things. Like, did I really sign up to work with this guy every day? Yes, you did. And we signed up.
I'm happy for it.
Hey, my guy, I appreciate you. We signed up to talk to our guy, Kevin Iole, MMA boxing
Absolutely.
for Yahoo Sports at Kevin I on Twitter. He's with us now. We're here to break down a great weekend on the UFC front and look ahead to what's to come in the boxing ring. But first, Kevin, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Kevin, it's interesting. Let me just start with like topical, right? On the heels of 3 great weeks of UFC and what Dana's been able to do and put this card together. They close it out in Miami. And a couple weeks ago with Angel Reese and what happened with her and Caitlin Clark. I tried to make the case 2 weeks ago. Listen, if this was men's sports and people want to be judged solely on, hey, treat us the same, it's much ado about nothing. When you look at Adesanya and the slinging of the arrows, the searching out his wife to revisit how, Pereira's son, he kind of fell out when Adesanya was asleep. We celebrated that stuff. Is it as simple as individual sport versus team sport? Is it double standard? Is it Adesanya and Izzy's facing more criticism than we think? Where did you land the plane on? We saw Masvidal do it against Askren. Like, we see it all the time, and we're not up in arms.
Well, I think that's the answer, right? I mean, that's the answer in and of itself right there. MMA is one of those sports, boxing the same way, combat sport, me versus you, in our faces and everything. And whether it's a male or female doing it, nobody laughs. It's just all part of the game. Where in basketball, it's not one of those things. Like, I looked at the thing that happened in the basketball game, and I'm like, what is the big deal?
Right.
Like, you're saying, hey, I want to wear a ring or whatever, and I won the ring. To me, it's just a little bit of trash talk, and it's ridiculous. And to have that kind of controversy over it, welcome to my world and see what we do with it. It's a lot different.
Hey, Kevin, did you expect that Adesanya fight to turn out like it did?
No. When I wrote my betting column before the fight,
I read it.
I said, I should bet Adesanya because every single thing I see tells me to bet Adesanya.
Yeah.
But then I said, I look at history, and that tells me to bet Alex Pereira. And so Pereira was the underdog, so I went with Pereira in the fight. Like, I thought if Adesanya was going to win it, he was going to have to kind of hang on there at some moment and win a decision. And I wrote in my betting column that I thought he'd have to really kick him a lot and break down his legs, meaning Adesanya breaking down Pereira's legs. Pereira was doing a great job of breaking down Izzy's legs. And so I never saw Izzy coming out there with a combination and dropping Pereira and knocking him cold, basically, with that combination, the way he did it. It wasn't shocking to me that he would win the fight. As I wrote in my betting column, hey, everything tells me that I should be on Adesanya. But to say that I saw that happening and is he knocking out Pereira cold? No, I'd be lying.
So when you're taking a look at like kind of what UFC's been able to put together with these last 3 cards and these star-studded fights, we got a couple loaded divisions, 35. I mean, there's some loaded divisions. Is this sustainable, or do we just ride the wave in time and it's in Dana we trust?
Well, I think a little bit of both on that. I mean, when we look at what's going on, I think one of the reasons that you're having so many good cards is because unlike what they do in boxing, they place high value on the title. And I'm not saying they give the absolute best contender every single time the title shot, but there's never in MMA, or I shouldn't say MMA, in UFC, there's never bad title challengers, right? You might say, well, this guy deserves it a little more than that guy. Like there's an argument going on now, does Colby Covington deserve the next title shot at welterweight? But there's no question that Colby Covington is one of the 2 or 3, or at worst 4 best welterweights in the world. But in boxing, a lot of times that doesn't happen. So what has happened is, as people have started to get sick of what happened in boxing and they started to follow the UFC, and you see in the UFC, hey, number one, we're going to see the best guys fight the best on a regular basis. And that draws a lot of the athletes in. They say, I want to be part of that. And the sport itself, the talent in the sport itself at all levels is really getting better. And I think as a result of that, you're going to see at the highest level the peak of it, where you're going to see all these great fighters in one division. And I think I go up and down all the time, and I say, how many people do I think in each division are capable of winning the championship? And every year that expands. There's always more and more guys or women that I'll say are good enough that can win the championship in this division.
Kevin, when you speak title fights, when will it be Gilbert Burns' turn?
He's had him.
Well, Dana said Saturday night that he will fight the winner of Covington and Leon Edwards. So Gilbert's going to be the backup for that fight, and then you'll see Gilbert fight the winner of those 2 guys. I'm not sure that I agree he's done enough yet to get that, but he convinced Dana that he deserves it, and I didn't think it was all that of an impressive victory over Jorge Masvidal, who was in his final fight. But it was enough that Dana had given him the next shot.
Not to go all Chicago and where do we go from here, but if you're Usman, who we saw, in all his glory, celebrating with Adesanya, and we look at how it was scored and decided against Sterling, like, where does Usman go from here?
Well, I think Usman has the ability still to be the champion, right? It's very rare in the UFC that you lose to a guy twice, but we saw it with Adesanya. You can come back and win, but it's very rare that ever happens, right? I think Usman is good enough, but I think what he's got to do is he's got to get away from Leon Edwards for a while and just focus on and beating some other top contenders. I did not think in the fight against Edwards that Usman was as explosive as
he was a little cautious.
Later, the news comes out that he had a knee injury. So is that really what it was? Was it a knee injury? Or is Kamaru Usman, he's put a lot of miles in. He's fought a lot of really, really hard fights. That takes a toll on your body. Is he ever going to be the same guy? I tend to think that he has some more good fights left in him. I'd like to see him fight Bilal Muhammad. I'd like to see him fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. Guys like that, and then maybe see where it shakes out and fight for a title and a couple fights down the road. But I think he has to, get himself back healthy and then start looking at one of those guys as a potential opponent.
We're talking to Kevin Iole, MMA and boxing for Yahoo Sports, at Kevin I on Twitter. I want to take advantage of boxing before we close the show today, Kevin, and talk that Davis-Garcia fight that's coming up. Davis, 28-0. 26 knockouts, Garcia 23-0, 19 KOs. Do you think Garcia has the skill to keep up with Davis? Because he sure doesn't think so.
I think he has the skill to win the fight. Now, does he win the fight? I don't know. That's going to be, what it's going to have to be. Ryan has not proven it at the absolute highest level. The best win of Ryan's career has been against Luke Campbell. And Luke Campbell's a good fighter, but was not a superstar fighter. When I look at where Ryan Garcia is, I think they're like a baseball prospect coming up, where everybody, Baseball America, all these different things have him rated the number 1 prospect in the minor leagues, and he's a 30-30 guy with a 300 average and 1,000 OPS and all those things. That's what I think. Now, can he do it against major league pitching? That's what I think we have to find out with Ryan Garcia. Garcia is really fast. He hits really hard. He's very athletic, and he moves really well. He has all the things that he needs to beat Tank Davis. Tank Davis is a veteran. He's been there. He's done that. He's seen all those type of things. And he himself is one of the hardest punchers out there. So I think that's what makes this a great fight. I love this fight, and I haven't loved a lot of these pay-per-view fights in boxing that have been coming up, but this is one I absolutely love. And I think the reason I love it is it's not only a contrast in styles, but both guys have a chance to win.
Yeah, this is not going 8 rounds. So whoever you like in less than 8 rounds, that's the thing. Let me get you out of here on this. Would you rather be a guy like Garcia and have the 10-pound rehydration clause that Tank threw in, or what my buddies tell me, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, is the sticking point with Crawford and Spence and a rematch clause?
Now look at the rematch. These rematch clauses are completely idiotic, right? And you saw it in the Tyson Fury Usyk fight, right? That broke down the negotiations. These rematch clauses. If you believe in yourself and you think you are the best fighter in the world, take the fight.
Exactly.
And if something happens, it's a good fight. There's going to be a rematch.
So let me ask you this. If you're Crawford, and I'm not saying I have any inside information, Kevin, I'm just asking you, not that he's a friend, and you don't want the rematch clause because you do think you're going to win, could you see him not wanting to make a couple of different fights, rematch, you win, need a trilogy, where he wouldn't want to make money for PBC?
I'm not sure I understood the question, but I mean, if you're saying like,
so if you commit to one fight in a rematch, you could potentially be committing to 3, and you're not going to make another promotion that kind of money.
Well, he is not. I mean, Terrence has made a ton of money in his career, right? I think he's the best fighter in the world. Prove it now. And if you have to beat Errol Spence twice, do it. And I think he does beat Errol Spence, and I think he makes it. You know, who cares what PBC makes, and who cares what Errol Spence makes? What you're getting is all that matters, and you're going to make a ton of money yourself, and you're going to make life-changing money for yourself, and you're going to put yourself in the history books of boxing, where you're going to say, you know, you're one of the greatest. And does that have an impact down the road? Of course it does. Look at how revered Sugar Ray Leonard is. Look at how revered Muhammad Ali was. Look at how revered Mike Tyson was. And that's the category you will put yourself in. And so you can make money down the road just off your name. Terrence is going to make money down the road off his name because of what he's done already, but it's going to be nowhere near what he does if he goes out there and beats Errol Spence. I think that's a thing to think about.
Kevin, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
That'll do it for today's show. We appreciate you as well joining us. More Coffee and Cream coming your way tomorrow. For Damon Benning, Shane Schillerberg, I'm Andrew Rogers. We'll see you then.